Hi everyone, this is Mr. Ruhoy, and this is an Algebra 2 video on factor by grouping. Now, factor by grouping is a really efficient way to factor a trinomial. A trinomial is something in the form of ax squared plus bx plus c, and a, b, and c are coefficients. So let's start with an example. I'm going to do example number 1, and that one will do x squared minus 7x minus 18. So that's the first problem we'll do. So step one is to multiply the coefficients a and c. Now the coefficient a in this case is actually 1 because there's nothing written in front of the x squared. So I'm just going to go ahead and put a 1 there. And the coefficient c, I'm going to do that in red. The coefficient c is negative 18. So we're going to multiply those two together, and we have to include the negative in the negative 18. So 1 times negative 18 just gives us negative 18. And then our second step is to find factors of a times c, which in this case is negative 18. So we need to find factors of negative 18 that add up to the middle coefficient of b. So first let's start by listing our factors. The factors of negative 18 would be 1, negative 18. We can have negative 1 and positive 18. There's 2, negative 9, negative 2 and 9. We got 3, negative 6, and negative 3 and positive 6. Okay. So once we found the factors of a times c, we want to find one that adds up to the middle coefficient b. So our middle coefficient b is negative 7. So which of these factors add up to negative 7? That would be 2 and negative 9. So step 3 is to rewrite the middle term as the sum of the factors that we just found. So we're going to take negative 7 and rewrite it as positive 2x and negative 9x. And we're also just going to rewrite the x squared and the negative 18. The only thing we're really rewriting would be the negative 7x, and that's where the 2x and negative 9x come from. To finish off this step, the next thing we need to do is what we call split the middle. We're actually just going to split this problem into two different problems, two different sides. So that brings us to our step 4, which is to do actual factor by grouping and factor out GCFs. So if you look at the left side first, x squared plus 2x, those two terms have a GCF of x. So that's what I'm going to factor out, and that will leave me with x plus 2. And now if you look at the right side, you got negative 9x and negative 18. Well, you can factor out a GCF of negative 9. And that will leave me with x plus 2. Now it's important to point out that I didn't have to factor out a negative 9. I could have factored out a positive 9. That would have changed the signs of what's in the parentheses there. But I wanted to factor out a negative 9 because now if you look, they both have an x plus 2. And that's critical. That's very important. You need the same factor on both sides. Because now we can do one final factoring. Because both the left and the right side, they both have an x plus 2. So that's what we can factor out of both of them. And once we factor out the x plus 2's, we're left with an x, and we're left with a negative 9. And now that's completely factored. So let's do one more example. This time let's do 3x squared plus 4x minus 7. So this one's a little different. The coefficient of a, it's not 1 in this case, it's 3. But the exact same procedure will work just as well for this one. And the first step is to multiply a and c. That gives us negative 21. So now I'm going to list out all the factors of negative 21. So we got 1, negative 21, negative 1, positive 21. There's 3, negative 7, and negative 3, positive 7. And those are all the factors for negative 21. So now we need to figure out which of these pair factors adds up to the middle coefficient, which in this case is 4. And if we look at it, it looks like negative 3 and 7 add up to positive 4. So that's what we're going to use to break this up. I'm going to write negative 3x plus 7x, and the 3x squared and negative 7, they come down as well. They don't change. The only thing we're doing is trying to rewrite the middle term, because now we can separate this into two different problems where this guy and this guy both have GCFs. The GCF on the left side looks like it's 3x. And if you factor out 3x, that leaves you with x and negative 1 in here. On the other side, we can factor out a positive 7, and that'll leave us with x and minus 1. And you know you did this right when both sides, both the left and right side, have the same factor here, x minus 1. Because that's the GCF that we can factor from both the left and right side. And then once we factor out that x minus 1, we're left with a 3x, and we're left with a 7. And now that is completely factored. And there you are. That's factored by grouping for a trinomial where both a is a 1, and in the example of the second one, a was 3. All right, thanks for watching.